Hello, everybody. Welcome to another session of Vallath at 10. We are going to start this 10 p.m. classes like a crash course, which will help you in the upcoming exams. And as the first introductory session of this free crash course, we will have a percentage-wise analysis of the important questions asked in the previous NET exams, Shift 1 and Shift 2. That means if you are a person studying alone by self-study, you're preparing for NET, you can study all the topics that I'm showing you on the slides, read thoroughly, and after you study these topics, you can study related authors of the same time. And this can be like a plan for your detailed preparation. So promise me one thing, you will look at these slides, you will look at the authors that we are going to talk about and start your preparation. And guys, from the next day onwards, when I come, I will have unit-wise topics as well as questions to discuss with you. It won't be just questions, I will teach you also. Like a crash course, like an awesome course that will help you to pass if you put in your own efforts. Did you like that? Wow. Now, I have a PPT. I don't think you will like my sessions if there is no PPT, so I made one. Based on previous NET questions, we will have live quizzes every day, starting from today, okay? And I will also show you the percentage at the end of this video. I will show you what percentage comes from which areas in the present times, okay? Right. First important topic we have is Greek classicism. There was a question on Orestia, if you remember. Greek classicism continues to be a very important area. And what I want to ask you today is a quick quiz. Tell me, guys, which is the satire play that came along with our Orestia? Which is the satire play that came along with Orestia? As you know, Orestia is the trilogy of Aeschylus. And in those days, all the plays came as trilogies. And also along with 3 tragedies or a trilogy, there will also be a satire play. Which is the satire play that came along with Orestia? Now, did you understand? Trilogy it is, but along with it, there is also a satire play. I don't think it is extant, but it is famous. What is it? It is Proteus. Proteus, P-R-O-T-E-U-S. It is Proteus. Aeschylus. Aristophanes, some of you are saying, Aristophanes is a comedy writer. Aeschylus, Sophocles, and Euripides, they were the tragedy writers. Will you remember? Very good. Now, there are also poets like Pindar. There are philosophers and critics like Plato and Aristotle. So many important authors are there in the Greek classical period. Roman classicism also they will ask. Virgil, Horace, Ovid. Remember that. And then the next topic they asked is 14th century writers. Chaucer and his contemporaries also they will ask. Who are the authors in Chaucer's time? You should look up and study them. Let me ask you one thing. Who is the English Chaucerian who wrote books based on Chaucer's works? He wrote, for example, the Book of Troy. He wrote the Complaint of the Black Knight or the Complaint of a Lover's Life. Tell me, who is that? They asked about him. It is John Lydgate. It is John Lydgate. He is an English Chaucerian, 15th century writer. There are Scottish Chaucerians and English Chaucerians, remember. Don't you know that? Very good. And also, there are a lot of other writers, religious writers, controversialists. There are also people like Mallory, Thomas Mallory. So prose of this period is important. They could also ask you some events. Events also. Okay, next there were questions from William Shakespeare as well as his contemporary and friend Ben Jonson. Tell me, let me ask you questions, shall I? Which is the play by Shakespeare where you have a character called Osric? Osric, bolo? Which is the play by Shakespeare where you have a character called Osric? It is in Hamlet. Osric is a character who is a minor character, but he plays a major role. What is his role? He is inviting Hamlet for the duel. So remember, there are textual questions in the exam. You should know the major plays of Shakespeare in detail. Stephano and Trinculo are in, that you will know. Stephano and Trinculo are characters in The Tempest. Stephano and Trinculo are characters who are drinking. They are having a good time with our Caliban. Remember, they are characters in The Tempest. So characters, situations, then things that happen in the plays, that is also important. Now, in which play do you have Ben Jonson's essay as a preface? In which play of Ben Jonson do you have a preface where, or an induction, where he talks about comedy of humors? Where he talks about comedy of humors. The induction to every man in his humor. The induction to every man in his humor. Do you remember? Induction to every man in his humor. This question is easy, everybody knows. In which play does the protagonist worship gold? In which play does the protagonist worship gold? It is in Volpone. Very good. It is in Volpone. Now, Ben Jonson was an actor. This question came in Northeast Slet, I think. Who is the stage designer of Ben Jonson, who introduced the proscenium arch? He was a very major architect. The stage designer of Ben Jonson, who introduced the proscenium arch. It is Inigo Jones, I-N-I-G-O, Inigo Jones. Then you have questions from Francis Bacon and university wits. Francis Bacon and university wits. Francis Bacon talked about the mistakes committed by human beings. He used an analogy for it. What is that analogy? I will give you a clue. Ta-da-dang! This is the clue. What is the analogy that Francis Bacon used to talk about the mistakes of human beings? It is called the four idols. The four IDOLS. Idol of the cave, idol of the tribe, idol of the marketplace, idol of the theater. Remember that? Okay. Which among the university wits? Which among the university wits was a doctor by profession? Who among the university wits was a doctor by profession? Who is it? It is Thomas Lodge. Thomas Lodge. Thomas Lodge. Very good. Then tell me, among the university wits, who wrote Menaphon, Mammalia? Menaphon and Mammalia. Menaphon and Mammalia. It is by Robert Greene. Which among the university wits wrote a new style of prose? Who among the university wits wrote a new style of prose? It is John Lilly. John Lilly, who wrote euphuistic prose. Euphuistic prose. Very good. Very good. Now, are you benefiting from this, guys? Is it boring? Am I boring you? Tell me, okay, if it is boring you. Which among the university wits did not go to the university? Who among the university wits did not go to the university? It is Thomas Kidd. Thomas Kidd. Very good. You're answering correctly. Oh, there were questions from 17th century prose and 18th century prose also. Prose writers are important. Usually we ignore them. Remember, you should remember to study the prose writers. Okay. Which of the 17th century prose writers employed a metaphor from the Old Testament? He used an Old Testament sea monster to talk about politics. Who was it who used the example of an Old Testament sea monster to talk about politics? It is Thomas Hobbes in Leviathan. Thomas Hobbes in Leviathan. Leviathan. Isn't it good, guys? Okay. In the 18th century, in which year came the first Copyright Act? The first Copyright Act is called Statute of Anne. Statute of Anne. It is in 1707. No, 1710. 1707 is the Act of Union between England and Scotland. 1710 is the first Copyright Act. Okay. From tomorrow, those who came late, from tomorrow, I will start unit-wise explanation and classes, crash course. Today, I am doing an analysis of the percentage of questions that came from which area. At the end of this video, I will show you the percentage of questions that came from each area. Okay, guys? Now, John Milton and John Dryden also they asked about. John Milton and John Dryden. In which book of Paradise Lost is the pandemonium built and Satan is opening his council in pandemonium? In which book is Satan opening his court or council in pandemonium? It is in Book 2 of Paradise Lost. Book 2 of Paradise Lost. In which book of Paradise Lost does Milton describe a dream by Eve? Eve is dreaming in which book? Eve is dreaming in which book? Eve is dreaming in book 4. Book 4 is about Satan trying to tempt Eve in her dream. Wow. Which is the book that Dryden wrote based on Paradise Lost? Which is the book that Dryden wrote based on Paradise Lost? It is called The State of Innocence. Dryden wrote The State of Innocence based on Paradise Lost. There were questions based on John Dennis and Samuel Johnson. John Dennis is associated with sublimity. John Dennis wrote Appius and Virginia. Apius and Virginia. Samuel Johnson is important. Tell me, which is the book by Samuel Johnson where he talks about metaphysical poets? Which is the book by Samuel Johnson where he talks about metaphysical poets? It is Samuel Johnson's Lives of the Poets that came in 1781. 10 years later, Boswell's Life of Johnson came. In NET exam, they asked about Boswell's Life of Johnson, remember? Okay, now, Samuel Johnson wrote a book where there is a neoclassical character called Imlac. Which is that book? In which book by Samuel Johnson is there a neoclassical character called Imlac? It is in the book Rasselas. Rasselas, or the Prince of Abyssinia. Guys, I hope you are loving this session. I hope I'm not boring you. Now, Daniel Defoe and Richard Brinsley Sheridan also they asked. Daniel Defoe, which is the periodical started by Daniel Defoe? Which is the periodical started by Daniel Defoe? The periodical started by Daniel Defoe is The Review. The Review. In which theatre did Sheridan have shares? In which theatre did Sheridan have shares? It is in Drury Lane Theatre. Sheridan had shares in Drury Lane Theatre. Which is the play by Sheridan based on The Rehearsal, which attacked Dryden? There is a play called The Rehearsal, which attacked Dryden. Based on that, Sheridan wrote a play. Which is that play? Bolo, bolo. It is called The Critic. Sheridan's play, The Critic. Sheridan's play, The Critic. Very good. Now, there were questions on romantic poets and Edmund Burke also. Shelley, Coleridge, Keats, all that they asked. Who wrote the poem, The Sensitive Plant? Who wrote the poem, The Sensitive Plant? It is Shelley. Another PYQ it is. Then tell me, who wrote Sibylline Leaves? Who is the author of Sibylline Leaves? Sibylline Leaves is an anthology of a collection of poems by Coleridge. Sibylline Leaves is a collection of poems by Coleridge. Very good. Against the impeachment of, when one official was being impeached, Edmund Burke gave a speech condemning colonialism. Who was being impeached? When which Indian official was being impeached, did Edmund Burke give a lecture condemning colonialism? It was during the impeachment of Warren Hastings. Impeachment of Warren Hastings. Guys, there were questions from Thomas Love, Peacock, and Jane Austen. Please stay till the end of the video, because at the end I will show you an analysis of percentage. How much percentage from each area they asked questions, that I will show you, okay? Right. Thomas Love Peacock wrote 4 ages of poetry. Which are the 4 ages? Which are the 4 ages? Iron, gold, silver, brass. Iron, gold, silver, brass. Okay. Thomas Love Peacock wrote Headlong Hall, Melincourt, Nightmare Abbey, Okay. There was a question based on Jane Austen also. I will tell you the names of the heroines. You tell me which is the novel. Anne Elliot is in which novel? Anne Elliot. I am saying simple questions as well as difficult questions mixed up. Okay. Okay. Anne Elliot is in Persuasion. Anne Elliot is in Persuasion. Very good. In which novel do you have Fanny Price? Fanny Price is like a Cinderella character in Mansfield Park. Highbury is the setting of Emma. Highbury is the setting of Emma. Highbury also is mentioned in one edition of Wastelands. Not that same Highbury, another Highbury. Charles Dickens and Wilkie Collins. Array, they were friends. They were friends. Guys, please remember to like the video and stay till the end of this session. I will end soon with a discussion of the percentage of questions they asked from each section. Charles Dickens and Wilkie Collins were friends. Together, they wrote a play called The Frozen Deep. Wilkie Collins started sensation novels. Sensation novels. George Eliot also they asked. Also Thomas Hardy. Thomas Hardy's poetry they asked. Remember in our encyclopedia, there are many poems of Thomas Hardy given. Those who have encyclopedia, please go through it. Right. There were questions on Victorian criticism and also Matthew Arnold. Carlyle, Ruskin, Walter Pater, they are all very important, guys. You should remember them. Matthew Arnold is a very important critic. Study of poetry, the function of criticism at the present time. Matthew Arnold advocated high culture. Culture is the study of perfection, said Matthew Arnold. Culture is the study of perfection. And which is the book that Arnold wrote about culture? Bolo? Touchstone Method. The book is Culture and Anarchy. In Culture and Anarchy, he talked about grand style. He talked about Hellenism and Hebraism. Right. Oh, there were questions from D.H. Lawrence and T.S. Eliot. Which of them talked about star equilibrium? Star equilibrium. It is D.H. Lawrence. One man and one woman, they are so much in love and so much fighting. Love, fighting, love, fighting, love, fighting. That is star equilibrium. Did you like that? Who wrote What is a Classic? Bolo, what is a classic? It is by T.S. Eliot. T.S. Eliot wrote What is a Classic? There were questions from Louis MacNeice and Philip Larkin also. Louis MacNeice, all of you know, is from the poets of the 1930s. Poets of the 1930s. Philip Larkin was a movement poet, isn't it? Everybody knows. There were questions from American literature. Thomas Paine wala question. Thomas Paine is the author of Common Sense, The American Crisis, etc. Ralph Ellison, who wrote Invisible Man. Invisible Man. He is saying that being black, he is like invisible. Beat Generation. Jack Kerouac, Allen Ginsberg, Neil Cassidy, William S. Burroughs. One question on Margaret Atwood also. She is Canadian. Margaret Atwood also. Margaret Atwood's novels. What are the novels of Margaret Atwood? Starting from Edible Woman, Handmaid's Tale, Lady Oracle, Life Before Man, Blind Assassin, then Cat's Eye, and now the last novels, later novels are all dystopian. Henna? Oryx and Crake, Year of the Flood, Mad Adam, that is a trilogy. Heart Goes Last, which is the novel by Margaret Atwood based on The Tempest, Bolo Bolo. Yeah, it is Hag Seed. And she got second Booker for the Testaments. The Testaments. Then Edward Albee, who wrote Who is Afraid of Virginia Woolf? Tony Kushner, who wrote Angels in America. Guys, tomorrow there is a surprise. I will go live at 9 o'clock and also 10 o'clock. Will you be there in both sessions at 9 o'clock? I am going to show you something that will help you in some ways. At 9 o'clock and 10 o'clock. Will you both come? At 10 o'clock regularly, I will teach. All right. Plays of Jean-Paul Sartre. Jean-Paul Sartre wrote The Flies. No Exit. Luigi Pirandello, 6 Characters in Search of an Author. Yes, Kuhu, Zoo Story by Edward Albee. Aboriginal writers, Udgaru, Nunukal, Cat, Walker. I taught my students like that in the previous batch. They asked that question. Writers of Indian diaspora, very important, guys. We will make a book also, Writers of Indian Diaspora. What do you say? My R&D members, those who are listening to me, remind me. We will together make a book that will help everybody. Indian awards. Sultan Padamsee Award, remember? Indian awards are also Western awards. Nizim Ezekiel wala question tha. Sleepwalkers. Nalini, marriage poem, remember? It is all there in our material. Many of you in this session have joined our 1-year course, 6-month course. I will teach you everything. It is all there in our material. There were questions on Manohar Malgonkar, Kamala Markandeya. All of you know them, don't you? Jayanta Mahapatra, Meena Kandasamy. Lots of questions from Indian literature were there. New criticism, Frankfurt School. New criticism and Frankfurt School. Jacques Lacan and post-colonialism. So all these are important areas. Cultural materialism, Raymond Williams. Or Pierre Bourdieu, Jürgen Habermas. They are cultural studies theorists. Now, guys, one more, Donna Haraway, Noam Chomsky. Lucky for us, this exam was actually easy. All the questions we have not got, but based on what we got, I have made this. 40% of questions cleanly were from BL. 10 or 15%, BL means British literature. 10 or 15% questions were from American literature. Maybe 10%, I can't say for sure because every question I didn't get. Theory also, 15%, I think, questions. Okay, don't leave out any of these. Indian literature, 15 to 20% questions were there. Indian literature, many questions were there, 15 to 20%. Post-colonial literature, maybe 10 or 15%. Do you agree with this? Other literatures like European literature, then linguistics, all that is maybe 5% questions, 5 to 10%. So still they are asking 40% British literature only. So many questions came from classics of British literature. Every exam is not the same. Sometimes there is heavy focus on Indian or post-colonial or theory. So guys, in our coming days, I will start with net preparation topic-wise in YouTube. These will be our open courses. Okay. The courses we run in YouTube will be open courses. Chote, 1 week, 2 weeks wale course. And then we will start once again another course like that we'll do. Okay. Like before. And in our paid courses also, we will do amazing things. You know what is happening in paid courses? There is a 6-month course online, pura, with a lot of books and materials. There is a 1-year course online, pura. Even if you are a student or a working professional, you can attend both these courses, any of these courses. Then there is an offline 1-year course. Admissions are almost over. I don't want a lot of people in offline 1-year course. Admissions are closing very soon because we have got enough number of people and only few more seats remain. And those people will get a lot of career grooming programs, lots of practice, and we will make them exam ready for December and June, as well as for their career. This is the plan. And there are recorded courses. There are quizzes. So many things are there. And also you have in YouTube our open courses. For all the details, there is a surprise I'm going to bring you tomorrow at 9 p.m. And also later at 10 p.m. Once again, we will have our course, open course. Okay. So thank you very much. I am so glad that all of you came and joined us today here. Every day, please come at 10 p.m. and we'll prepare together. All my paid course students should also compulsorily take the open courses. Whatever courses we are doing in YouTube, all paid course students should compulsorily do. Okay? Because it is for you also, for everybody. All of you should study well. You should have amazing careers. You should be empowered. You should not hang your head in shame. You should not cry ever because you did not pass an exam. Never it should happen. I am there for you. We will study together. I am also learning along with you. I hope you enjoyed this session. Please share this video with your friends every day. Will you help me and do that? It will be a great help if a lot of people attend. All your college groups, etc. Please share these videos because it will help lots of people. And also join us every day. Okay. Bye-bye. See you tomorrow, 9 p.m. and 10 p.m. Bye.